Hey, great Monday afternoon, great Monday evening, actually. Welcome to the month of October. It is Dr. Anissa Short with Chosen Pen Publishing. Welcome to another edition of Conversations with Chosen Pen. Our theme during this month of October is the celebration continues. As many of you already know, Chosen Pen Publishing celebrated 10 years of service, 10 years of being in existence, and the grand celebration was last month. But a little unknown fact by many is that Chosen Pen actually was not established until the month of October. So October is truly the anniversary month, but because of so much going on in the month of October, so many hats being worn by Dr. Norma, we had to kind of spread the love out. So we did the Chosen Pen celebration in September. But this month, we're doing the continuation of the celebration. And in today's episode, as well as subsequent episodes in this month, you're going to have an opportunity to meet some of our Forbes Business Council speakers. These phenomenal men and women were a part of the whole celebration because we hosted a Forbes Business Council. I don't know how many have ever been held in the city of Fayetteville, North Carolina, but I do know this was Chosen Pen's first opportunity to host, and phenomenal it was. Dr. Norma, as you notice, is not here. She has been traveling internationally again, and she's recovering, but she will be back next week. Let's keep our fingers crossed. She extends her love to each and every one of you and says, thank you so very much for your continued love and support. So without further ado, I want you to meet these phenomenal women that we have here with us today, both of which served as a part of the Forbes Business Council. They each were panelists. They bring their own wealth of knowledge and expertise to the table. So I'm going to have them introduce themselves first. And let's go to the state of Maryland, because, you know, we had about 6 states represented during this entire event. So let's go to the state of Maryland, specifically the city of Baltimore. Miss Gaither, you're muted, but come on in and tell everybody who you are and a little bit about you.
Good evening, everybody. I am Takia, the teacher. Literally, by trade and by Instagram, Facebook, IG. I'm an editor, author, high school and middle school math and technology teacher. And I was on the forgiveness and mental health panel for the Forbes Council at Chosen Pen's 10th anniversary. I also do various things for Chosen Pen. And they helped me establish my new lane of curriculum writing. And so that's my newest endeavor on top of all the other things.
All the other hats she wears. Yeah, Takia is a part of our Chosen Pen team. We would not be able to accomplish many of the things that we do from a publishing perspective if it were not for her gifted ability to not only edit, but format and help people create their landing pages and websites. So thanks for hanging out with us today, Takia. Now we're going to go south down Highway 95. We're going to hit Highway 20 and go west into the state of South Carolina. Miss Teachy, come on in the room and tell everyone who you are and a little bit about you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm excited to share our experience and everything. So thank you for having me. My name is Tiffany Teachy, and I help kids be able to excel in math and science through STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, tools to be able to gain access to scholarships, to early college credit, as well as to advanced courses. I'm a full-time engineer, but then I became an author because I wanted to see more STEM representation. And so from that, I've been able, the sky's the limit. I've been able to be on various platforms. And so I had the honor of the opportunity to be on the panel for the Forbes Business Council, which included the Literacy Council, as far as being on the literacy panel. And so I was able to share my STEM journey from there, and the sky's the limit for the opportunities that I've been able to share with my STEM education.
Thanks so much, Tiffany. So here's a little background for those of you who unfortunately did not attend. But the thing about the Forbes Business Council, we had 3 different panels, and each one of them represented a flagship of what Chosen Pen is all about, one of which is literacy. We have been passionate about childhood literacy specifically, but not just childhood literacy. We know many of you know about our projects in South Africa, where we've gone and we've adopted schools, and we're bringing books to the schools to help build up their libraries. We've worked with them on establishing their computer labs in the schools. And so literacy is very much a part of who we are, which makes sense. We publish books. I mean, how could we not be a part of the literacy movement, right? But then another avenue or flagship that we're passionate about is women in business. So one of the panels dealt with entrepreneurship. You'll have an opportunity to meet some of the Forbes council panelists from that perspective that served on that panel as well. And then, of course, as Takia made reference, we talked about forgiveness being a part of the mental health journey. You can't have one without the other. To be mentally healthy, you must forgive. And so that's another flagship, another very important segment. And truth be told, many people don't oftentimes associate forgiveness with every other aspect of life, but it is. To succeed in business, you must forgive. It's a principle of forgiving is a principle that's applicable for every corner of our lives. And so that was pretty much kind of, I guess, the resonating theme during that panel. So for the sake of time, there's a lot of things I could ask, right? There are a lot of questions I could pose, but what I would rather is that they share organically their experience. They're serving on the panel, so we'll take it in that order. Takia, then Tiffany afterwards. Let's talk about the messaging of your panel in its entirety, how you served as a part of that, and what you believe, your opinion or your take of the entire event. Let's do that. Okay. That'll give us some time to talk. And then we'll just kind of bounce around from there. Okay. So Takia, you take it away.
All right. So the forgiveness and mental wellness and mental health panel was made up of myself. There was a licensed family and marriage counselor who also works with children in schools. There was a Dr. Kiana Dancy, who received a doctorate in humanitarianism for her efforts in the community and rebuilding. And she was doing forgiveness within the work space and how it works with your ability to be able to function in the job that you choose, the career that you have. And then the fourth panelist, her name is escaping me right now, but she also had written a book, and her flagship was like, no more. Oh my gosh, I can hear that thing clear.
No more flinching.
No more
Carlotta.
flinching.
Yeah.
Yes, Carlotta. She did no more flinching, and it was just about the signs of child abuse. And so usually when you come into people in adulthood and they flinch whenever something happens to them, it usually means that somewhere along the way there was abuse involved in their life cycle. And then my portion was forgiveness in regards to the absentee parent. But my parents were not absent. But I spoke on basically behalf of my children because their parent is presently absent, which means they're here, but they're not here all at the same time. And so it's a completely different dynamic of things when you're now looking at, your own children and the things that they're going through. And then because I also teach, I'm looking at the children that I teach every day and the things that they're going through. And so it opens up a lot of conversations, even in my classroom, about different things that people are like, well, how do you do such and such? Because they've seen I had my cup. I should have bought it with me, but it's on my desk at work. So they see my face on the mug and they're like, you were really on Forbes? I said, yeah, I was on Forbes. I got to speak with the Forbes people. And it's like, they don't really know what it means. They just know Forbes represents money. So they get all excited about that part. But the entire experience was really well. Our panel was moderated by Mr. Al Short. He was a phenomenal moderator. I love the questions that he asked to each of us because it opened up such a rich conversation, like from all aspects of everything. And so everybody was able to highlight their strengths and the things that stand out and what they spend their days and their time doing and the things that they spend their time talking about. And as Anissa said earlier, the underlying theme was that you have to forgive regardless. You don't have to like it, but you're going to have to do it because it impacts so many spaces of your life. And I think the last question that he asked was probably one of my favorite. He said, what do you gain when you hold on to unforgiveness? And what do you lose by holding on to it? And Kiana's answer was funny because she was like, you gain weight. Like,
yes.
That's just
she was like the comic relief. I mean, she was serious in her responses, but then at any given time, she would say something that would bring the crowd tears and laughter.
Right on back in. And it was just the way to think about, all the things that just kind of well up and you end up holding on to and not knowing that you're holding on to it. And the root of it becomes that you actually had somebody that you need to forgive, or the fact that you really need to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
which
Right.
becomes a bigger part of the whole thing, because it's a lot of times, especially as women, we find it really easy to kind of let other people off the
Yeah.
hook,
Yeah. But
but
not
not ourselves.
ourselves. Yeah.
And
Right. We
we
carry that
struggle
weight.
with, yep, with, so it just all kind of spills over. So you can't forgive yourself, so then you go to work and you make poor work decisions, you make poor family decisions, you make poor life decisions, and it's all because you just can't seem to get out of the cycle that you just stay stuck on, because at the bottom of it all, you have to forgive you,
Exactly. And
and
that
let
ties
God
to the
do his
mental
work.
aspect of it too. If you would, the thing about it is that we don't understand how the weight of unforgiveness begins to affect us mentally. And
Hmm.
so because it begins to affect us mentally, it's not like a sledgehammer. It's like a subtle thing. And then over time you just can't function at the greater capacity, when it comes to a
Hmm.
lot of things, simply because of the fact that you've been harboring that unforgiveness. That was so good. Takia, I agree. Your moderator was like top notch. I mean, I'm a little biased, I think, maybe, but anywho. But thank you for sharing that. We lost Tiffany, but she's back. Tiffany, same question for you. Talk about your a little bit about the experience, your panel, your contribution, and what you thought about the event in its entirety.
All right. So I was on the literacy panel. So dealing with all different types of literacy, not just the children's one, but across the board of just literacy itself. And just knowing we started out with the whole numbers, the figures of how many really are illiterate and adults that is illiterate. And so it was just amazing to see the discussion. It was some powerful women. Our moderator was on point as well. And so being able to know that each of us brought something different to the table, but still was able to bring it together, encourage the importance of literacy. And I think that's the biggest piece. And we all had something dynamic to talk about. Me, of course, was dealing with the STEM, and tying it in with how STEM education and literacy correlates with each other. And so I was able to say how that's a part of it. We talked about the different avenues of literacy, from even knowing that, some don't even have the opportunities, and the opportunities that need to be out there. How do we get it out into the community? How do we get our parents, the engagement part of it? So the discussion was great. I mean, being a part of the Forbes Business Council, I mean, knowing that we are making an impact in such a way that it's a stage where I'm amazed to be a part of. When I saw the opportunity, I was like, why not? I
No,
had to be
right,
a part of it. And
right,
so I'm
right.
just glad that, I was with some dynamic women on the stage that we brought something to the table in our own fashion. And it all was impactful to know that we're making an impact with trying to encourage more with literacy. And so I was in awe. It was amazing. The setup was nice as far as making sure we were where we needed to be on the stage. It's powerful. Now, I will say, Dr. Anissa and Dr. Norma and myself were able to be a part of TEDx as well.
Yes,
And,
we did.
and it was a whole different ballgame being a TEDx speaker. But
It
then
was.
being a Forbes speaker, it took it to a whole other level. I'm like, man.
You know what, Tiffany, you make a very valid point, because you said the opportunity presented itself and you said, why not? Right.
That's it.
How many times, and this is just a philosophy even for myself, that I've become more conscientious of it, is that if the opportunity is presented, there is value in being in the room.
Yes.
Just being in the room. We've had people who attended the event, that probably could have participated in some capacity, but they were there nevertheless, and so that matters. And we've gotten like, the next time you all host something like this, we're going to be the first to show up, that kind of thing. And so it was something to be said. So let me read something with regards to your moderators. Takia, your moderator was Coach Alfonso Short, and the media Biz Boost made reference to him as being a masterful moderator, is what he said, with the way in which and I was thinking, it's interesting that he made reference to how he, drew in with the questions and things of that nature. And what people don't know is none of the panelists knew each other. Nobody, well, with the exception of some of them, like we knew Tiffany Teachy from meeting her from being in South Africa. So some of us knew but everybody didn't know everybody. Let me just say it that way. So even like with Takia's panel and even Tiffany Teachy's, I don't think they knew any. Well, Takia was familiar with Dancy, Kiana, but otherwise nobody knew anyone. And then your moderator didn't know anybody. Let's be clear. So to be able for them to be able to orchestrate things and for you all to blend so seamlessly, you would have thought there was a whole lot of pre-planning, pre-prep, you got the questions in advance and things of that nature. And while there may have been some of that, trust and believe it probably was less than 24 hours if you got the questions, right? Let's talk a little bit about how that worked. I mean, you guys came in as strangers, but how did you leave?
I mean, you learn more about the individual. I mean, Takia and I, we have something in common. I mean, I'm so glad we're on this stage together again. It's like, wow, things happen the way they need to happen for her, for the math, the teaching, and I'm STEM. I mean, everything's, happens the way it needs to happen. So we continue the communications. We're connected now. We all have something that we've connected and we can bring to the table. So yes, it's a powerful thing. We might have not known each other before, but now we know each other and now we can take it to the next level from the discussion.
Exactly.
That's how I see it.
That's how I see it as well. I mean, there's really no other way. The value, it's like there's a lot. Someone that I know very well said this years ago. And he said, your biggest resource is not money or anything, it's people.
Mm-hmm.
It's because of the relationships and the people that you connected to that opportunities are presented. So when people say are looking for opportunity and are looking to advance and they're looking to excel and they're looking to do dynamic things, you cannot do that on an island. You have to be in the room. You have to be in the rooms. Takia, come on, chime in.
Yes, and so I agree with Tiffany. Like I had heard of her previously because Dr. Norma kept saying, you have to meet Tiffany. You have to meet Tiffany. You have to meet Tiffany. And I said, well, I think I've seen her name around, but I've never actually met her. And so to actually finally be able to meet her was just amazing. I have your books up in my classroom, by the way. I won't even let the kids touch them. They are in the room behind my desk so they can look at them when I'm standing there watching, because sometimes they get they hyper about stuff. But they asked me today because we were taking notes and they was like, oh my gosh, all this reading and writing. I said, let's be real clear. You're going to read and write everywhere. You're going to read and write in math. You're going to read and write in science. You're going to read and write in life. And you are going to do math everywhere. So get it in your head now. Whether you like it or not, you're going to do it.
It's all
every day of your life somewhere else. So you learn how to take notes now. Your English teacher is going to be real happy with you later. So we might as well start today. Get the writing. You got 3 minutes and set the timer, and they took off. It's just the little things that you can add back in. And so when we have the activities in your book, I think on my next half day, when I can actually break free and do some fun stuff with them, we're going to talk about careers in STEM and where you see some of the stuff that we're doing, because that's the question I get asked the most. Why do we need to know this? When does it ever come up in life? And so to be able to show them that here, look, this is where it comes up. This is what you can do with this, and have it written by another Black woman, which next year I have to make sure I get your picture and put the book, and then you'll be on my wall of people, because that's what I decorated my room with majoritively women, computer programmers, engineers, mathematicians, Black women, because they needed to see that, because it's not enough of us. And that was part of how I ended up teaching anyway, because there weren't enough of me's around.
That's good.
There's not enough Tiffany's writing books. There's not enough Tiffany's that are engineers. And so because we miss these representation pieces, kids don't get to see what they can be. They don't get to see anything else, because all they see is, I mean, and there's nothing wrong with them, but they see
what you mean. But representation matters.
They see, the blue collar things, but they don't get to see the upper part. Like A Different World to them is just a TV show, but we actually lived some of that.
No more hidden figures. No more hidden figures. No more hidden figures. One of the things Dr. Norma speaks to is the importance of people to write a book in their chosen profession, whatever that is, because writing the book makes you an authority in that particular profession or occupation or what have you, or whatever that topic is. And as you said, Takia, we need representation matters. It's important for everyone to see themselves represented at all levels, in all circles, in all corners of the world. And so to learn math and STEM and be engaged in that is good. But if you don't see anybody that looks like me that's also doing it, then of course, why should I be excited about it? There's no relativity with that if they don't see that part. So yes, yeah, everybody should. So listen, if you're watching and you are an expert in your field or been doing anything for any length of time, 15, 20 more years, you can write a book, and that book could become an extension of you. And the impact that you make will not only benefit those that are in your immediate circle, but they can go even beyond. Tiffany, let's talk about that for a minute. Takia is familiar with this as well. But Tiffany, when we first met in September of last year at the TEDx, since that time, you have been international more than once, taking your book and your message of STEM to children in various other countries. Talk about that for just a second.
I mean, it's amazing. Yes, this travel piece is amazing because now it's taking it globally, and to see the impact with these kids when you're going to show them, and they want to learn. These are smart kids that's out here in this world, and right. So we want to make sure that we get them exposed. But yes, I started out last year in Ghana, and then I was able to come back to Africa again in the same year within 3 months and go to South Africa, Johannesburg, with also to Botswana, and be able to get on the TEDx stage, to be able to know that I'm giving my talk, my message, getting the message out there. I think that's the biggest piece. All of us have a story to tell. And so I love to share it with the kids because I know how it was when I was in that math class, asking the questions. And so I'm able to now take it to the next level. And then this year, Italy. I knew that I was going to go to Italy to be a speaker for a retreat. And so I said, oh, I got my books translated in Spanish, French, Swahili. I need to get it in Italian. And so I got it translated in Italian right before I came. And so the creativity, who would have thought me being an engineer with the left brain is now utilizing the right brain with the creativity to be an author and get the kids to see that they can also be authors as well. And it's amazing when these kids see our pictures on the back and say, wow,
you wrote this? Yes, exactly.
You're in this book, and they come back and they said, I'm like, yes. And I'm like, you can be it too. So they can also be an author. And I think that's the biggest piece I also push too, that they can be an author, not only just all these careers, but they can also be these authors as well and write a book.
Exactly. Tiffany, I don't know if you remember this, when we went to South Africa in September, we went to visit the school out in Botswana, in Gabon, out in the country. Mm-hmm. And there was one young man there that said he really wanted to be an author, but his parents wanted him to do something else. Right. And so the statement was, you can do both.
Right.
And he it was like a light bulb went off. He says, I can. Yes, you can. And then, you and Dr. Glover and everybody was like, well, yeah, she's an engineer, but she's also written a book. She's an educator, but she's also written a book. She's a da-da-da-da, he's a da-da-da-da. And it was like the light bulb went off. So he got excited because he thought it was either or, but no, babe, you can do both. Yes. And make an impact in various capacities because we're multi-talented. We're gifted like that. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that Dr. Norma has stated, even with the onset of us even doing the international travel and making an impact globally and doing more things like the writers retreats that Chosen Pen host and the TEDx experiences in South Africa. And now, of course, during the celebration, the Forbes Business Council, those types of events are in her mind's eye, open doors. She says, this phase of my life is about creating opportunity for others. Now, of course, because she's done that, opportunities have been extended to her as well, but she's willing to bring other people along. And this 10-year anniversary was really about celebrating the longevity or the milestone of 10 years. But even in that, she wanted other people to have other opportunity to be a part of the celebration, but also to benefit and this be an open door. Let's speak to that, the importance of open doors as we close out. Let's talk about, how great the process was, but how this open door benefits you or how you see it as being a beneficial part of our community. Takia, you go first, and then Tiffany, you go.
So I can honestly say that having worked with Chosen Pen in general was an open door. At the time when I came on board, I came on as an author, as one of the anthology. And from there went to editing. went to formatting, now curriculum writing. I've also had a chance to be a international TEDx speaker. I've done the Forbes. Because I did the TEDx, I got a phone call, text message, one of them while I was in Africa. That was like, yeah, so can you come speak for Good Friday? Okay. I'll be on the panel. Sure. So there was that, because my church was very proud that I went. Like they told everybody that I was going. So I came back and did that. Another opportunity over the summer with another nonprofit. The person that was supposed to do public speaking dropped out, and because they knew my original panel was about writing books, I got there. It was supposed to be about public speaking. Because they also knew I taught and I knew how to switch gears. By the time I ended up presenting, it ended up being on goal setting or the 7 habits of highly effective people. One of the two, whatever it was something that I had not previously prepared for, other than the 10 minutes literally before I was put up to go. But because it got the speaker wheel turning, people wouldn't necessarily know it. I don't like to talk in public. I tell my kids all the time, teaching is funny for me because it's the one thing I was like, I don't want to have to talk to people all day. And for 6.5 hours a day, it's pretty much what I do, is talk to people all day. Because even when I want to sit and be quiet, I look up and they done formed a circle and they just sit there with their little book. Yes. And it don't even really matter what they doing. They just want to sit right there. And while they working, they'll ask, and you an introvert? How you an introvert and you a teacher? Because you can do all things. Like me and Jesus talk a lot. That's how I can be an introvert and a teacher. But it gives something else, just more doors opening. So my boys get to travel.
Yes.
Which they would have did anyway, but now they love coming to North Carolina. When can we go again? I think it's really just because they want to go to Walmart. But
but here's the thing you said, though. You said, I remember when you participated on that anthology project, and then in the course of us having a conversation and becoming acquainted, I was like, I think she edits and formats, Dr. Norma. She said, you think so? I said, let me call and find out. And then she was like, and she was so nonchalant about it. Well, yeah. Look, we're looking for some editors, so then so one thing led to the next. Again, an open door. When you walk through the door, not really, you're just walking in for one thing, but so much other, so many other opportunities stem from that. So to Tiffany, I know you can attest to the same thing, right?
Right. I mean, doors are always opening where it's an opportunity to continue to get that message out there. I gotten asked to be, so I blog and I do this for Engineering Management Institute. So by also doing all the different platforms, the talking, getting on stage, it's open doors for me to be, now I'm the host of a podcast for them.
Right.
To see all the different things I'm doing. So Women in Engineering podcast to be exact. So it's still me getting my message out, getting that representation. And so podcast host, I'm also radio show host, still tied with my STEM. And so, yes, the platforms are being on stage, speaking. I mean, opportunities. I mean, even after this, we've been able to be on different podcast talk show hosts, being on here. I mean, the doors are opening. The panelists, Dr. Portia, who was one of the panelists, she had a talk show host, and I was able to be on hers. I mean, the doors are open, and the partnerships and the collaborations has been so great from opening.
There was a statement shared at an event I went to, I participated in. Actually, it was a virtual challenge, and it was women in business. And one of the quotes was one of the things that women share, and I'm paraphrasing, but she says, it doesn't matter how much you know, it matters how many people know you. And I'm paraphrasing, of course, so there are a lot of brilliant people out there, very gifted people in this world. But if you're not willing to go through an open door, to participate and avail yourself, to take the risk and do it anyway, to make the investment and do it anyway, nobody's going to know you. So here we go. Tiffany Teachy, just, doing her engineering thing. And now she's podcasting, she's blogging, you've been on other podcasts, which has a totally different audience. Let's be clear. So now your exposure is greater. When we say yes to opportunities, we say yes to what comes after the fact. That's the part we don't really know. It's just going through that open door that makes all the difference in the world. Dr. Norma is a door opener for many people. this saying yes to Chosen Pen Publishing and getting it started has just really metamorphosed. And so, I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's taken on a life of its own. It's like we're publishing books. Oh, we're doing writers retreats. Okay, doing writers retreats. Oh, now we're going to do these events. Then we're going to do TEDx. And I'm like, okay, we have gone from, now we're doing a podcast. It's so much. And that's beautiful, though, because anyone who partners with us, we have a platform to help them get exposure and vice versa. Like you said, Dr. Portia, she has her own podcast. There's one young lady who was not able to participate because of an emergency situation, but she is responsible for hosting a major event in Atlanta, and she wants Chosen Pen represented. Now, she didn't even get an opportunity to participate in the Forbes Council, but because she was in the process of everything and we became acquainted, we working with her on helping her, market her book. But now she's talking about an event in Atlanta and she wants Chosen Pen to be there. And she wants some of the ladies from the event to be there. And I'm like, she wasn't even there. And she's also, she sold on the vision. It's about partnerships, it's about relationships, and it's about opening up opportunities for each other. We were not built to do this thing by ourselves. It does require community. And so our community, a part of the Chosen Pen community. I'm speaking on behalf of Dr. Norma because she's not here to say this all herself. So she'll be back hopefully next week. Any last comments, Takia? What would you say to anyone if they heard about Chosen Pen hosting anything else? That's the last question. If either one of you, what should they do?
I would say go. Do not hesitate. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Sign up for whatever it is and just join in. We can't even really, I personally can't really even put it in the words, like what the benefit of it is. You just have to be there to see it for yourself. And once you see it, you won't unsee it. And then you'll want to go again. And you'll tell somebody else and you'll want to go again. And that's how it all just keeps growing. So just go.
Thanks, Takia. What about you, Tiffany?
Yes, I mean, when the opportunity knocks, open it and go, like she's saying. And I mean, y'all took care of us. I mean, you made sure from day one we were good to go. You made sure our presentations were going to be together. I mean, you took care of us. And so if you doubt, don't doubt. It's worth it at the end. The big picture of it all comes together. And it was just a beautiful experience. And so I'm just thankful to be able to have Chosen Pen and be able to take care of us and make sure that we are where we needed to be and be exposed as far as that as well. So yeah, if anybody's doubting, don't doubt. It's worth it at the end of the day. Thanks.
Yeah, it is. It was. Well, thanks. It was an honor to hang out with you guys. Of course, I feel like I've been knowing Tiffany. We just met last year, but I feel like I've known you forever.
Right.
Pretty much kind of say Takia was like a year or two ago, but I feel like I've known you for a long, long time, right? And Chosen Pen is the vehicle that brought us together because otherwise it would not. We would probably have never crossed paths. So it's been a joy having you today as our host. Or as our special guest, I should say, in this episode of Conversations with Chosen Pen. As stated earlier, we'll be back again next week, Monday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because we got some more lovely faces that will be in the place to talk a little bit more about the 10th anniversary, because the celebration continues. On behalf of Dr. Norma McLaughlin, the CEO of Chosen Pen, and yours truly, Dr. Alyssa Short, I'm her sidekick. We appreciate you taking time out today to be a part of this broadcast, and we hope that you choose to join us again next week. Same time, same location. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you again.